Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trace Free webinar series. Today's webinar addresses the topic of how to strengthen the enabling environment for circular tourism business and enhance resilience. Before we start, I would like to dedicate a quick moment for housekeeping. Kindly note that the webinar will be recorded, so please feel free to keep your camera on or off. We will be able to share a link with you after the webinar is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with colleagues. The last 20 minutes is dedicated to a Q&A session. We will be collecting questions and addressing them to the speakers. You can also click the microphone icon to unmute yourself and interact with the speakers during the Q&A slot. I will start by giving you a brief overview of Project Trace, and then I will introduce our three inspiring guests. So I will be sharing my screen. The Project Trace, which stands for SMEs Transition for a European Circular Tourism Ecosystem, is co-funded by the European Union as part of the overall post-COVID recovery strategy for a sustainable and resilient European tourism ecosystem. The project consortium is composed by 7 partners from 5 European countries, and it has the duration of 30 months. The project has different objectives. It aims to enhance skills and capacities of European SMEs towards a more resilient, sustainable, and circular tourism economy. At the beginning of this year, the project launched an open call for SMEs working from the 5 interested countries from the tourism sectors. These countries are Italy, Belgium, Romania, Cyprus, and Spain, and 100 SMEs were selected from these different categories that you can see on the screen. The selected SMEs they are also benefiting not only from a grant, but also of the possibility of having a fitness check, a preparation and application for certification like ecolabel and EMAS, the implementation of environmental footprint methods, upskilling and reskilling, boosting their innovations, improving the uptake of innovative sustainable solutions they're developing new sustainable business strategies, and developing socially sustainable tourism models. The project is also providing the possibility of engaging with other SMEs and stakeholders, not only the ones from the 5 selected countries. And this has been done through the awareness raising, webinars, and this is actually the 4th webinar the project is offering today. A 5th webinar is taking place also on the 18th of April on how to allow for better stakeholder engagement. The project launched also today a second call for SMEs, specifically from Belgium and Spain. The call is open from today until April 18th at 5 Central European Time. All the documents necessary for the application are available at the website of the project coordinator, which is the institute, the Central National Research Institute in Italy, and the website is available on the slides, which will be shared afterwards. I would like now to present our 3 bright speakers, and I will start by presenting Helen Van der Maat. Helen is Green Key National Operator for Flanders and Dutch-speaking Brussels at GoodPlanet, Belgium. She studied multilingual communications before diving into the working world. She is super passionate about making a difference, whether it's through promoting sustainability or spreading the word about green initiatives. At GoodPlanet Belgium, she channels her love for the environment and education into meaningful work that makes a positive impact, from studying communications to actively working to protect our planet. She's all about living in symbiosis with nature and building a community that cares. Our second speaker today is Astrid Huberland, who serves as the coordinator of the CitizenFund. Her academic journey began with studies in economics at Maastricht University, followed by a master's degree in public policy and human development from both Maastricht University and the United Nations University. Building on this foundation, she pursued a second master's degree in sustainable finance at KU Leuven University. Her decision to join CitizenFund stemmed from a desire to align her interest in finance with her core values of social and environmental responsibility while making a meaningful impact on the world. Our third speaker today is Pauline Lavagna. Pauline took interest in sustainability while engaging in organizing a new electronic music festival in 2015. Besides other responsibilities, she embraced the role of environmental consultant with Paradise City until 2019, which became a pioneer as an eco-responsible event. She is a consultant and assessor for A Greener Festival, the reference organization for assessing and certifying festivals and venues for their sustainable approach. Within this framework, Pauline assesses the green commitments of several music festivals in Europe. Within a green site, Pauline develops her consultancy for events, identifying the various levels of action in the organization of small and large events. Okay, after this brief introduction and without further ado, I would like to give the floor now to you, Helen, to explain about GoodPlanet in Belgium and about the international ecolabel for accommodations, MICE venues, attractions, and restaurants, Green Key. Thank you very much, Helen, for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'll start by sharing my screen for the presentation. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. So I'm Helen Van der Maat, and I will tell you a bit more about Green Key and the hospitality industry. So as you all know, and as is introduced, I work at GoodPlanet Belgium. GoodPlanet Belgium is a nonprofit that wants to inspire young and old to realize a sustainable society. And we do that by giving workshops at schools. So we have coaches in all over Belgium that go into schools every day to give workshops. And we also have a B2B program for businesses. And there we also give workshops. And so Green Key is a part of our B2B program here at GoodPlanet. And so Green Key is an international label, the Foundation for Environmental Education. So the FEE is the big entity behind Green Key. So they developed the label and they choose a national operator in each country. They are also a non-profit, non-governmental organization, and they also promote sustainability through education. They have multiple programs, so Green Key is just one of them. They also have Blue Flag, Eco Schools, learning about forest, Young Reporters for the Environment, and Global Forest Run. And so in Belgium, we coordinate Blue Flag, Green Key, and Young Reporters for the Environment. So Green Key is the international label and a certification program for tourism establishments. Right now, we have over 5,000 certified establishments around the world in more than 60 countries, which is a lot of Green Key certified establishments. There are different types of categories that can obtain the label, such as hotels, hostels, but we also have attractions such as museums, restaurants, and MICE venues, conference centers. So it's a label for the tourism sector, really. We have Green Key International, and they coordinate the label in the countries that do not have a national operator. So they choose a national operator when the country has developed more Green Key establishments and when it's necessary to coordinate them. But when there's not a lot of Green Key certified establishments, then they coordinate it. And so we were chosen by Green Key International in Denmark to do so in Flanders and in Dutch-speaking Brussels. And Belgium is a bit special because we have two national operators, whereas normally there's only one. So we have our French counterpart, Canopea, and they do so in Wallonia and in French-speaking Brussels. So for Brussels, we work together, which is actually really nice to have somebody to work with. And I have added the national operators from the different countries that we're told would be here today. So Cyprus, Italy, Spain, and Romania. If you have ever any questions about Green Key, you can always contact them. I've found everybody in the Green Key network already very nice, so you can always ask your questions there. And I'm sure you will get the PowerPoint afterwards, after this webinar, so you can find them on the link at the bottom too if you want to look for another country. Now for the Green Key establishments. So the distribution of the Green Key categories is not yet equal. So you can see that the most certified category are the hotels and hostels. Mainly because there are a lot of chain hotels that want to obtain the Green Key, which is great. And then the second are the campsites and the holiday parks. Here on the map, you can see where the Green Key establishments are. So you can see that Europe is quite crowded with Green Key establishments. And then we can see some in Central America and some dotted all around over the world. So there's a lot of room to work with, and we want to grow the Green Key label in the other countries too. As for Belgium, we have 325 establishments that obtained the Green Key label. The most of them are in Flanders, but also 82 in Wallonia and 57 in Canopea. And here on the chart, you can also see that hotels are the biggest category in obtaining the label. To obtain the label, there is a set of criteria. And so here you can see the different themes where the criteria lie. So we have water, energy, waste, the kind of basic criteria that you can expect. But there's also criteria involving the staff in the sustainable actions that you undertake, and giving the guests the information about the label or about the options that they can choose. There are, for example, hotels that give the guests a free drink if they skip a day of cleaning in their room. If they skip a day of changing the bed sheets, then they get something. So it's really about involving everybody in the process in the label. Within all the categories or themes, there are imperative and guideline criteria. Imperative criteria mean that you have to comply with the criteria, and guideline is more to inspire or to see how far you've come. And from the whole set of guideline criteria, you have to comply with 30%, which is not a lot. So most of our establishments even go further than the 30%, but to obtain the Green Key, you have to have 30% guideline and 100% imperative criteria. The criteria, the set of criteria is internationally recognized. So every 4 to 5 years, they are reviewed to see what changes have to be made. Do we make them stronger, or do we add some? So only guideline criteria can turn into imperative, and then there can be added criteria, and then they become guidelines. So it's not that something becomes imperative all at once. There are slight variations between categories, sometimes due to just the whole world being different. And the international baseline is made, and then there can be national adaptations. That's because of some legislations that are different from country to country, or if some countries want to be more severe or want to make some guideline criteria imperative, then they can, but it's all reviewed within a group, and it's decided with everybody there. In Belgium, we work with a tool where they can, it's in Dutch, I'm sorry, but you can get the view of how it looks. So you can see all the different themes that I talked about, so water, energy, and staff involvement. And then if you click the theme open, you can see the criteria. So it says if it's an imperative or a guideline criteria, and then if you answer yes or no, then your points are at the side, they get higher or lower, and then you can see your percentage. So it's really easy to use, and it gives the establishments a way of looking how far they've come, to check their progress, because they can log into the tool and just check if they have made progress, or if it's going well, or if they are able to obtain it or not, or if they still need to do some work. So it's really easy to work with, and then they can see how it goes. And there's also some criteria that it's non-applicable. So if the hotel doesn't have a pool, then you do not have to answer the questions about a pool or the criteria about a pool. We have more or less the same timeline to join Green Key in the different countries, but it depends from country to country. So here is the application process, like the general application process. So first of all, normally you get in contact with your national operator in your country, or with international if you do not have a national operator in your country. And they will hand in the documents that you need, and they will explain the application process. So in Belgium, for example, we always ask the establishments if they want to hop on a call, so we can explain it all instead of giving them documents and lots of information. So we want to make it really easy for them to apply, and then they can fill out the application form as I've shown you. And then there's 2 ways of working from then on. So there's always an audit, but the country or the national operator can choose between whether it's an external auditor that is trained by Green Key to do the audit, or if it's an internal auditor, so somebody of the Green Key team of that country that does the audit, because there's always an external party involved in the process of obtaining the Green Key label. And so if there's an external auditor, then that's the external party. But if it's an internal auditor, then afterwards there is a national jury meeting where all the cases are reviewed, and then the jury decides if they obtain the label or not. In Belgium, we work with the 2 external parties. So we chose to have external auditors and then have a national jury meeting, so that the process is really secure, and that everything is double reviewed. So when the national jury decides that the label can be obtained by this establishment, then they will get the certificate, they get a plaque to hang outside of their establishments, and a flag. And their certificate is valid for 12 months. So every year it is renewed. And so the audit in the first year to obtain the label is here in the process. And then the second year, they also have an audit to see if everything is going well. And from then on, it's every 3 years an audit. And that's just the audit, the on-site audit. And then annually, there is a administrative audit, let's call it. And they have to send in documents to show what they're doing and how it's going, and their water and energy documents, so that we can check that everything is going well. And now the big question, why Green Key? Why should establishments join Green Key? Well, first of all, it's just an internationally recognized label, which is helpful that it's international. And second of all, booking.com does every year a report on travelers and tourism, and they actually found that global travelers confirmed that they want to travel more sustainably, that they undertake personal actions to do so, and that they would like to stay at a certified accommodation instead of a non-certified accommodation. They also take personal responsibility, so they choose actively to have more sustainable options. So they use their own water bottles, they recycle their own garbage when they are traveling, they plan their sightseeing around the fact that they could walk there or bike there or take public transport. So the travelers nowadays really take sustainability into consideration when they travel. And when they undertake sustainable actions at home, they would want to do that when they travel also. So that's another part that is really important. So it's just becoming a part of the tourism sector, and I think it's really important. So that's why Green Key exists, and why I'm very happy to work for GoodPlanet and to coordinate Green Key in Belgium. And voila, that's the end of my presentation of Green Key. You can always send an email to greenkey@goodplanet.be if you have any further questions. But as Ruba said at the end, is there a Q&A session? So feel free to ask any questions then.
Thank you very much, Helen, for this very well-structured and informative presentation. Actually, you explained how having and enabling environment as an internationally recognized label could help tourism SMEs transition towards sustainability and greener practices. Indeed, you have spoken about your B2B program, you have spoken about your environmental education, and you have also spoken about the toolbox which you have developed and all the tools that you provide the SMEs with in order to improve their in-house practices. You also mentioned that there is also a regular monitoring mechanism which tries to keep the SMEs' efforts in line and to keep improving actually all the practices that they are trying to put in place, and how they also engage their clients. This actually links beautifully with the next speaker, Astrid, who will speak about a different kind of enabling environment, and this case is a financial environment. She will explain how finance through citizen investment funds provides an enabling environment for strongly sustainable projects. So Astrid, welcome again. And
Yes.
I will be actually sharing your presentation.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Ruba.
Second. And voila.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ruba, for introducing us, and Helen for starting the webinar, and for organizing this webinar. Also, I do think it's really important to gather people and to speak about such interesting topics. So yeah, thank you for organizing this. I am, as you mentioned, Astrid, the coordinator of the Citizen Fund. Normally, it's the co-founder who presents the fund, but he has to present it to an European delegation, so he couldn't be there today. So I'm honored to take the floor, and I want to thank you all for joining us today and listening to our presentation and our projects. I can start by briefly introduce the Citizen Fund and then relate it to the topic on hand today. And then after that, dig a bit deeper into what we do, how we're doing, and everything. You can pass the slide, Ruba, if it's possible. So in one sentence, the Citizen Fund is an investment fund that is a cooperative and a participative tool that aims to support projects that solve a societal or environmental issue, while empowering citizens to take action, to participate, and to try to change the paradigm of finance and of our society. It's look like a huge sentence, and it is a huge sentence, but I promise you it's gonna be clearer by the end of the presentation. And if not, you can ask some question, no worries. So the topic on hand today is about how to create an environment to make the tourism sector more resilient and circular. We can, pass the slide. It is evident today that the tourism sector needs a lot of transformation internally. It is evident because 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries are crossed, that there are growing inequalities and disparities in the planet, and so on. I won't enter into detail about that, but I'm sure everybody is aware of the problematics, and that it's evident, and that's why we're here today to speak about that, that there need a change in the tourism sector that is internal. And in my opinion, this internal transformation will need some support from the financial sector. So you can just pass the slide, Ruba, again, sorry. In fact, this change and this new project and this new innovation will need and will require some funding and some other financial supports in any other way. So the financial sectors need to be there to support this change. But for the moment, the financial landscape is not ready to support this change, as it is really focused on another vision, a vision that is focused on profit and on a short-term lens. So that's everything, it is profit at all cost and profit beforehand of everything, even though it can create some negative externalities and some disastrous effects. It's also really focused on, you can just go back, Ruba. It is really focused on a short-term lens, and does not take into account any medium-term or long-term effect that any activities can have. So the financial sectors need to support this transformation, but it also needs to be changed from the inside. So this is where the Citizen Fund step in, because we believe that finance should be a catalyst for change, because the financial sector can really influence the change and really implement and support the change. But the financial sector needs also to change by itself to make this happen, because we need a holistic approach and a change of a paradigm totally in order to transform this industry and the tourism industry. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to happen. So now you can pass the slide. So this is what we're doing at CitizenFund. We are trying to finance the change while changing finance. You can also pass the slide. So as I said, we finance the change by supporting projects that solve any issue that can be environmental or societal. And we have a large scope of investment. So we take, for example, into account sectors or projects that are self-sufficient, meaning that they are going to make enough money to survive, but not enough money to make some profit or to make some dividends. So we will still consider this project because we believe that projects as such in the culture sector and the education sector are needed to our society today. So it's a large scope of investment, and we have also another focus, which is much more long-term. So we really invest in projects that are going to have a long-term impact, a long-term effect, and maybe long-term financial returns. What is crazy is that every project were selected. We have 30 projects for the moment from 17 different sectors, and they were all decided and selected by all cooperators. So as I mentioned, we are a cooperative, meaning that every citizen who wishes to invest in our funds become a cooperator. So you can, if you are under 26-year-old, you can invest 50 euros. If you are above 26-year-old, you can invest from 250 euros. From that on, you can then participate and decide the projects in which the fund will invest in. So we will, the project coordinator will come and we will organize an evening where everybody gather. You can be cooperators, but we are open to everyone who wants to join us. And it's really an evening where the project coordinator pitch his project, and then everybody exchange. There is some debate. Everybody can ask some question. It's an opportunity for people to come and to be inspired, but also to educate themselves about different topics that they maybe don't know about. But also it's a way to empower citizens, to show them that they can take action and that their money can have some impact, and they can then vote if they wish that a project join the fund or not. We are trying to be really democratical in the sense that every investor has one vote, independent of the number of shares that one has. We can go to the next slide. So what we offer and what we are trying to make is a tool that show that another form of finance is possible. Because today, I'm sure that when you heard Ruba just presenting finance, and everybody was like, oh, finance, it's really annoying. We don't know anything about finance. And if people know things about finance, it's only to make money. And it's something that is really disconnected from reality today, that is really not transparent and really difficult. And yeah, nobody wants to speak about finance. So we are trying to offer something different, something that is simple, that is accessible to everyone, and that show that people can and have action with their money and can have impact with their money. From my last point today, even though I can really speak a lot about that, is that we inspire ourselves from the permaculture principle. That we often call that permafinance, because we don't want to be the biggest fund, green fund as possible, the next green rock as opposite of BlackRock. We really wish to be a tool that citizens can take and implement in their region, in their country, or in their city, and something that is adaptable, that is really low cost and then super resilient, and that is transparent. We could make some, for the moment, you have one CitizenFund in Brussels and another one in Charleroi, but we are currently in discussion with other countries who wish to open their funds. We are just there, like, you can take everything, we're gonna help you, but it's really a tool that someone can take. We are also in the process of trying to implement some citizen fund in universities to show to students that another form of finance is doable, and that it's different from what they learn at school from traditional finance and traditional investment, but to show them that they can take action and that they can be heard, because often the younger generation is often put aside and not really they not really have the opportunity to speak and to say what they think and their opinion, because they're considered as too young. So that's to resume, we are trying to create a new imaginary and to propose a new paradigm, to show another direction. And for the moment, it's been 5 years that we're doing this. And it's really wonderful. We have 2 citizen funds. We have invested into and supported 30 projects in 17 different sectors. And so it's the end of my 15 minutes, but this can be a tool that someone and everybody can take in order to also transform the tourism sector, if I have to resume everything in one sentence, in order to change its paradigm as well. Thank you all for listening to me. If you have any question, just feel free to drop it in the comments, and I would be really glad to answer you. In the meantime, you can just follow us on LinkedIn and on Instagram. We would be really happy to hear from you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruba.
Thank you very much, Astrid, for this inspiring presentation, actually, where you are reimagining the world of finance. You have presented in a beautiful way a new enabling environment from the financial perspective, where a cooperative and participatory finance is funded by the citizens themselves, and it provides actually a concrete tool to support projects that have societal and environmental long-term impacts, but also financial returns that are accessible to everyone. So this is a viable way for people in the tourism sector who are looking for alternative options to finance their green and impactful practices. So thank you very much for sharing this innovative tool with us. And of course, I'm sure people will be having questions which you will address in the Q&A slot. I would like now to move to our third speaker. Pauline will be providing us with practical examples from her professional experience on how to strengthen an enabling environment for circular practices, but also enhance resilience in a very specific sector. So welcome, Pauline, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So happy to be here, and I'll start sharing my my screen. Up and okay. Is it working? That's the first question.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, good. Okay, so I wanted to start my presentation by, first of all, sharing results of studies that have been made in the tourism industry regarding its impact on climate change. And so you can see that the hospitality sector is responsible for 1% of global carbon emission, and yes, sorry, no, I'm going too fast. So it's the bigger picture is concerning tourism in its global aspect, and this one is a percent of global carbon emission. And there has been a study which made a projection saying that if the industry does not want an increase in carbon emission, but still want to grow as forecasted, the hotel industry must reduce its carbon emission by 66% per room by 2030 and by 90% per room by 2050. Which shows that tourism has an influence on climate change. But we shouldn't forget that climate change also has an influence on tourism, as and will have, as we can see in this picture, where we see it was taken in February earlier this year in Chile, where there was those big fire happening with big consequences here on a beach side. So this is why it's important to tackle the question of climate change and how to reduce the effect on that. So what can be done to reduce tourism impact on climate change? It's mainly moving from what we have known as the linear economy towards circular economy. And circular economy means we need now to change production, we need to have a better service, we need to remanufacture, we need to reuse, to resource, and just use whatever the R of circular economy are. It's also repurpose, it's also reform, redesign. There's many things that can be done. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was just like, is circular economy, does it apply to tourism? And I started from the definition of a tourist. It's a person traveling and staying at least one night and less than 1 year to a destination outside his usual environment. So in the process, the tourist will first prepare his trip, then he will travel. When reaching his destination, he likely uses local transports. He settles in his chosen accommodation. He eats food and partakes in some local activities, and then he travels back. So we're going to see that all those 7 steps are compatible with a circular economy. But in order to apply the principle of circular economy to tourism, we need to identify where are the main carbon emission in tourism. And you can see in the discharge that it's mainly transport and mobility. And then you have food and catering, accommodation and building, and consumption, and finally activities and services. This chart was made based on tourism in France, but I believe that it's applicable to other countries. And here we look at hospitality services. We have another picture because it's mainly, if we look at a hotel stay, it's mainly energy, which has the highest impact, followed by food and drinks, and then the other services that you can find. So 2 main things need to be tackled. Maybe firstly, the optimization of energy use. And that means that we need to diversify the energy supply sources and the development of renewable energy systems. And that particularly in buildings for lightnings, air cooling and heating, and also cooking purposes. Providing rewards and incentive for low energy use by customer is also a very good idea. And then the second big part was mobility. And regarding sustainable mobility, the problem is that hospitality industry is relying on the existing infrastructure where it is. So it's not always easy to have an influence on that. But then to lower emission, the hospitality industry can really promote, whenever possible, modes of collective and alternative transportation systems to client and staff. And they can provide information on how to take a bus or a train to go to some destination, how to use local public transport, reward clients who travel by public transports. And it's also possible to supply free bikes or install electric car charging points at the facility. But there are also other way to tackle carbon emission, and it's also with waste management, where it's important to reduce waste generation at source, and also to optimize waste separation and avoid packaging whenever it is possible. And of course, that's where we can upcycle materials or reuse as much as possible. Here, there's an example of a hotel in South Africa, which was at the beachside, and they made their own ashtray for cigarette butts, because cigarette butts is a real problem on the beach. They end up in the sea, and it's a huge amount of waste. So here, it can be separated, and also I know of some companies here in Europe who even recycle cigarette butts, and it can be used to make ashtrays, for example. So that's a good example of a circular solution. And then another place where things can be done to lower the emission is with food and drinks, because there's a lot of waste of food, like 18% of food bought by the hospitality and food service are wasted. Therefore, a good thing to do is to provide smaller portion size and reuse and repurpose uneaten food. And also regarding the environmental impact of food, providing vegetarian and vegan meal is a very good initiative because it really reduces the greenhouse gas. And regarding drinking, of course, it's just like avoiding reusable, no, it's using reusable bottles, avoiding plastic, and providing free, clean drinking water when and if possible. And then there's also the question of water management, because from a study, it says that tourist uses 8 times more water when he goes to a hotel or abroad than when he's at home. So, the question of optimizing water use can be a good thing to tackle to reduce carbon emission as well. And also one thing that I really like is to emphasize the importance of communication with the client, with the staff, with the consumers, and with the suppliers, because we really have a big influence then. And for example, when a hotel is organizing trip, you really can have an influence, because then he can design trips that would require no vehicle support, for example. It can be, it can design trips that will showcase local climate initiatives, or enable the visitor to know about the issue that the country is facing. There's also the possibility to support the staff, for example, when they wish to attend climate strikes. It's a good way to support them. And also whenever dealing with suppliers, either new ones or even old ones, it's important to have a look at what their own initiative in climate change is, if they, for example, use renewable energy, if they provide local food, seasonable food as well. So it's important to have those steps taken on an everyday basis, and with all the people that you that you encounter during your exchange. And to finally close my presentation, I wanted to point out some tools that I find very useful to enhance resilience, and that are easily found on the internet. First of all, there is Tourism Declares, which implement climate action plans, because they want to reduce emission by 2013. There's the website stays.com, where they calculate the footprint of the hotel that people book, and they also have sustainable hotel options there. You have the Glasgow Declaration, where you have action and commitment to support the goal to halve the carbon emission over the next decade, and even reach net zero emission even before 2050. And one that I find very useful also is the GTPI plastic measurement methodology tools. That's a long one. And it's very useful because it helps to calculate the annual total weight of plastic that you might have. And then there's the Climate Act campaign, which gives free events and activities in the idea of finding solution to fight climate change. So.
Thank you very much, Pauline, for providing us with this overview of practical examples of how the tourism sector could tackle heads up specific, let's say, relevant but hotspots in their daily practices. And as you opened your intervention by saying, of course, tourism has an impact, a strong impact on climate change, but also climate change is impacting tourism. So it is in the interest of the sector to be a forerunner in tackling the green gas emissions. Thank you very much for our three speakers, and I would like now to open the floor for questions, if any. I see that there is one first question in the chat for Helen, I think, because it is, yeah. The question is about the costs of the certification.
Yes, so this actually depends from country to country, and also from category to category, and then from size. So if you are a hotel and you have 5 rooms, then it's less expensive. It's not expensive for a big hotel to obtain the Green Key label. It's just a cost, but it's less money for a small hotel than for a bigger hotel because of the audit. For example, if the auditor has to check more rooms, then it takes more time, and therefore it is more money.
Okay, thank you very much, Helen. I don't see other questions in the chat, so I strongly invite you to just open your mic and raise your question, if any. Maybe in the meantime, I can address the question to the three speakers. Maybe what are the main, let's say, challenges or hindrances that are keeping tourism SMEs away from adopting green practices or taking advantage of existing enabling environments, in your opinion?
Sound, okay. If I may, I think one thing that is frightening them is the fact that doing something might be costly. And often it's what I hear when asked for advice, and just like, yes, then it's very nice to propose that I do that and that and that, but then how much will it cost, and is it not too much regarding the benefits that I would get from doing something like that? For example, regarding energy, just like installing something to have access to renewable energy, and they're just like so frightened it's a big investment and I will not have something back from that.
Yeah, if I may add to Pauline, I do agree, but then again, it's related to what I've said. I think it's just the entire mindset of the society who does not push these SME into this direction, if they were supported by the financial sector or by legislation or other sectors, that would push incentive for them to make some change and to really shift towards a new paradigm. I'm sure that it would be much more easier than today, which is not the case at all, I think, or just very by small amounts, which is not enough, unfortunately.
Thank you, Astrid. Thank you to the three of you. Wondering whether there are questions from our SMEs from Belgium, Cyprus, Italy, Romania, or Spain regarding the tools, methodologies.
I think there is one who want to ask a question, Marius.
Yeah,
So...
yes, Marius, please.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
I have a question for Helen, but I kind of think that she already did answer that. I represent a hotel in Iași, in Romania, and we were wondering about certifying through Green Key. And I was wondering if there are some levels of certification, like a lower one, a middle one, and so on. But I think that you already answered that there's a minimum of 30% that you need to check or something like this, right?
Yes, so you have the set of criteria, and the imperative criteria have to comply with all of them, and then the optional criteria or the guideline criteria at 30%. But you have Green Key or you don't. So it's not a level. It's not a label with levels or with gradations. It's just you have it or you don't. So,
I see.
Well.
I saw that there are a lot of international chains, at least in Romania, that have Green Key certification. So
yes,
that's just in Romania.
Yes, a lot of chains are now actually saying to their hotels that they have to have Green Key. So we see a big change in the hotels and the bigger chains, that they all come and say, "Oh, we want Green Key." So
I see. I was asking that because I mean, we're not 100% fully environmental friendly.
mm-hmm.
We could take steps into that direction, and I was wondering if we can consider Green Key, but I think that we have to talk to the local representative for more.
Yes, I highly suggest you go and ask about the process in Romania itself, because it changes a bit from country to country, and I've explained like the basis of it, but then you can see how the tool or how the criteria works in Romania, and yeah, they will give you much more information than I can give you.
Thank you very much, Helen.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Marius. Actually, your question brings another question to my mind. This is a question to the three speakers, of course. Do you think the legislation in place in the different countries could play as an enabling or hindrance in certain countries towards more green practices, like having a public enabling environment, or sometimes maybe not? Why not having a private enabling environment could incentive SMEs to launch their environmental journey, for example?
I don't know if someone wants to speak, but I would say for sure it's yeah, I was mentioning that, but for sure it can be public through economics incentive, such as taxation or subsidies, or just help in terms of laws that would allow or forbid certain activities or certain ways of doing in the tourism sectors. and in the private sector as well. This would also influence a lot this practice. Yeah.
Well, what we actually noticed in other European projects is that if there is a kind of system in place which provides incentives, which provides regulations, which provides a framework, it is really very helpful for SMEs to proceed through that path. I see there is another question to Helen, but I see that Helen already answered the question. I don't know if Helen, you want to provide an overall answer to everyone in this regards in terms of deadlines.
Yes, so the deadlines again depend from country to country, because I think 3 weeks ago I had a meeting with other national operators, and we all have different deadlines, or maybe no deadline at all. That can be the case too. If they work with just an external auditor, then a jury meeting isn't necessary, and then the certification can be all year round. So in Belgium, we work with 2 deadlines, the 30th of September and the 15th of March. And then the audits are in the following 1 to 2 months. And then we have the jury meeting the month after, and then the month after you get your certification. So it's about 4 months, but the moment starts at the deadline, and then you have to have the application form filled out. So it can start for your establishment earlier on. If you want to have a meeting with us to discuss the process and to discuss the application form, then we provide any information necessary, and so it can start earlier. But the deadlines for the application form to be filled in is the 30th of September and the 15th of March in Belgium.
Helen, just a follow-up question. Does this apply to the entire chain? For example, if there is a chain of hotels, does it apply to one of the hotels or for the entire chain?
So if a chain wants to apply, it's always hotel by hotel, so location per location, because the audit is at a location, and it's only one audit per hotel. So the chain has to fill in per hotel an application form, and so they can choose if one hotel does it now and the other waits a year, or they do it earlier, or so it's up to the chain to see how they go by that and how they fill in the form, but it's separately.
Okay, and I have 2 questions. The first is addressed to Astrid. So Astrid, if you can tell us a little bit about the criteria. Is there a deadline or a time span within which people can pitch their projects? What's the criteria? How many projects per year, etc.? And the second question is addressed to Pauline. You work in a very specific and exciting field, which is music festivals. If you can just give us a bit of an overview of what's the difference in terms of guidelines and green practices you usually implement in your music festivals. So first, maybe Astrid, if you can please answer the question.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned already, we have invested in 30 projects, and the selection process goes by firstly meeting us, me and the co-founder, and see if there is a match and if the value corresponds to the value of the fund. And then if so, we organize a selection committee composed by 5 persons, 2 persons that are elected cooperators who have competence in finance, consultancy, or law, or everything can be there. And then we outsource two experts in the field. So for example, if we have a project about telecommunication, we could take an expert in telecommunication from Proximus. So it does not have to be in the impact sectors, but just in the field of the project, in order to have a real comprehensive mindset that is in the field that we don't have. Even though we can make a lot of research, it's always really nice and really good to have some experts. So we have two experts, two elected cooperators, one co-founder, and then the project coordinator pitch his project for 15 minutes, and then there is 30 to 40 minutes of question and exchange with all the participants, and then everyone can vote with 5 criteria of the functioning, the team, the values, and everything. And then if there is 65% of voter who says that the project should be presented to the cooperators, including the 2 experts, because if one expert say no, the project go out. And then we present the project to all the cooperators. So we have 280 cooperators. So we make an evening where people can really meet each other, where we're trying to build an ecosystem, and where the project pitch its project again for 10 minutes in front of the people in real life to have a human connection. And then everybody can ask some questions. So as I said, everybody is welcome during this evening. So it can be the cooperators, but it can also be external that just want to be inspired or just want to know more about one topic or another. And then everybody can vote. Well, not everybody, but the cooperators can vote. And if majority votes yes, then the project will be funded by the fund. I don't know if you have any more questions, but I could clarify it if needed. Voilà.
Thank you very much, Astrid. So, Pauline, maybe if you can answer the question.
Yes, right. So, right, in the field of music, it's quite fun and interesting indeed. So mainly the thing is that it's for music festival, and music festival happen in a place where they necessarily have an impact. So the idea is either to think at the beginning when the festival is created to reduce as much the impact. And one of the biggest that it might have is with electricity, because it needs a lot. And so we can really think beforehand, even where the festival is going to take place, because that's an interesting thing to do, is just like think of all the impact and then just choose the best place where the festival could happen to lower the impact. And then that can happen for all the different impact on different subjects. So it's also on waste, it's also on water consumption, it's also on food that is provided. So if it's near a local farmer and everything, it can be sourced there. So it really does lower the impact. And then there's also the question of existing music festival, because then now they really need to reduce their impact, and how can they do that? And that's another question, because it differs from a new one settling in. And also another big question is the mobility of the visitors, because there's a big difference between a big festival having big headliners and having a big crowd coming to the festival. And it's really different from another small festival, which is local with local musician, and the visitors will come from a few 100 kilometers away. So there are a lot of questions that are raised by music festivals. And it's very different every time. So yes, it's an interesting field in which I work, but not the sexy part, because, you know, I go backstage, I go and visit the toilets, I go and see how the generators work. So yeah, it's nice though.
Yeah, I agree, but someone needs to take care of the technical issues as well. And it's great that you are very knowledgeable of all these details, which can make a difference. I can't see additional questions or raised hands. So I think we have reached the end of today's webinar. Before waving goodbye, I would like just to inform you that our fifth and last TRACE webinar, titled How to Allow for Better Stakeholder Engagement, will take place on Thursday, 18 April 2024 from 3:30 to 5 Central European Time. A registration link will be shared in a minute. I would like to thank our 3 inspiring speakers and all participants today. Thank you for attending and for being with us. I would like to thank my colleague Karen for taking care of all organizational matters. Thank you, Karen. And if you wish to rewatch the webinar, the recording will be available next week on ESHEC's YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming together on Zoom today, and we look forward to welcoming you soon again. Thank you and goodbye.